Vin, you're the greatest baseball announcer ever, but having
Very
worked with
debatable. Very debatable.
I don't think so. But having worked with you for 28 years, I know that you are equally as fine a man. Your character is unblemished, undiminished. What are the sources of your strength?
Well, I guess in one word would be faith. I started out as a little boy groomed as a Catholic, Roman Catholic. My mother was a very, very deep religious woman, and I believe her discipline, her training, that gave me the faith in those tender days. And the faith has helped me a great deal in my own personal tragedies, in the very fact of even in my successes, faith still comes and plays a very prominent part. So if I had to sum it all up without a long, long lecture, it would be faith.
You know, I think the casual observer would say, Vin Scully's had a perfect life, but I know you've had lows and, as you've said, deep personal losses. Comment on that.
Well, I guess the two worst things that could happen to a human being, I believe, would be the loss of a wife and the loss of a child. And I experienced both of those pains. They never really go away. There is always a constant reminder of what was and what is no longer. Fortunately, in the depths of despair, God was kind enough to give me my wife, Sandy, our children, our 16 grandchildren, and plus the fact that He's allowed me to do what I love to do, and He has given me the health and the longevity to do it all these years. So again, we get back to faith and the gifts that I've been given to pretty much pull me out of what would have been a pretty despairing life.
What is success?
I think it's momentary. I don't think about success, in all honesty, I don't. I think the moment that you felt you were able to do the job, that's enough. That's enough success. In fact, I remember reading about Napoleon, and Napoleon's biggest problem was he never knew when to stop. It was one success, another success, until finally he pushed the envelope and he was defeated and lost everything. So somewhere in there is a lesson for all of us thinking about success.
With all the honors you have received, what keeps you humble?
I guess because I know everything I have is a gift. It's a gift from God. I firmly and truly believe that. And as long as you really believe that, I don't see how the ego can get involved. I mean, I spend every day sometime along the way saying, Dear God, thank you. I don't know why I've been given these gifts. I don't remember doing anything to deserve them, and yet I've been given them. So I feel that I certainly can't puff up about it. It's just been an unbelievable gift for which I'm eternally grateful. Yeah.
Then what's the importance of laughter?
Oh, gee. I think laughter is a basic part of my life, for sure. I don't know what I would do if I didn't find things in this world humorous. I really think I've been given a very good sense of humor. Yeah. And somehow or other I can find, maybe it's the Inspector Clouseau in me. I mean, I can find humor in trying to open up a jar of applesauce or something.
Which is one of your favorite foods, by the way.
But it will be a disaster. And I've learned, I have so many shortcomings that I have really learned to laugh. And I take that right out onto the golf course. I mean, I don't get angry. I hit the ball, and sometimes I marvel at how well I hit it, and I might say to somebody, who hit that? You know, and then the next one will be terrible, and I just find it very easy to laugh at myself, and I think that might be part of it.
One day you hit a ball out of bounds, and your next shot was a hole-in-one, and they gave you a 3.
That's right. And you know, right away you have to. I have 3 holes in one, and at no time did I feel that I did anything. Oh, yeah, I hit it, but I couldn't direct the ball. It just happened to go in the hole. So those with me were so excited, a hole in one. And to me it was, yeah, well, let's get on to the next hole.
Just another par.
Yeah, right. That's the way it goes.
Share one of your favorite stories with us.
A joke, you mean?
Well, yeah, something that's humorous. That would,
I guess my favorite Irish joke, and that would also involve faith. And the Irish not only are deep in their faith, but they also absorb it into their life. And you have to understand that in Ireland. And I guess my favorite Irish story is it's sunrise, and there's a very small town, and little whitewashed homes, thatched roofs, wisps of smoke coming up out of the chimney, the dew is on the grass, and coming down the country lane is a priest in a little donkey cart, clip, clop, clip, clop, clip, clop, clip, clop. And just as he approaches one of the small houses, a door opens and children come flying out. Typical Irish family, 7, 8 children with a distraught mother hollering instructions to each one, pull up your socks, put in your shirt, comb your, you know. And they go running on laughing to go to school, and she's up against the door exhausted, and the priest comes over and he says, Margaret, he said, I know that being a mother of a large family is a problem, but when things get difficult, when your nerves are frazzled and your temper is short, I want you to think of the Holy Family. And she said, yes, Father. And then the priest got back in the donkey cart, clip, 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 and she watched him going down the road, and she said, the Holy Family, them and their one. So that's the way the Irish take the faith, and that's one of my favorite stories.
I'll tell you one of my favorites
Good.
that you've told me. 1956, you get a chance to go to the Vatican and meet the Pope.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Which, again, is another great humbling moment. And normally it'll take me too long to tell a story. But in essence, I'm there with 9 other people, that's all. And Ralph Branca, a Dodger pitcher, and his wife Ann, and myself, we have traveled around the world. And so we're in a U, and His Holiness comes in, and he turns, it's well staged, and they take a picture. And then he began to speak to the people. And he spoke in German, in French, in Italian, naturally, and he just went around the U. Now, they had told us not to speak to him unless he spoke. And my mother had said, please memorize every single moment. I said, sure, Mom. So he came to Anne, and she spoke. And she said, would you bless our family, Your Holiness? Which he did. And he then turned to Ralph Branca, the pitcher, and said, where are you from, my son? And he said, I'm from the Bronx in New York. Oh, I know it well, because he had been at Fordham. And then he moved to me, and now this is going to be the moment that I'm going to tell my mom all about. My hands are a little moist, and my legs are trembling a little bit, and he looks at me and he said, are you with them? And I went like that, and he moved right on. And I left there, and I thought, just how humbling can that be to have him say, are you with them? So there you go, same old story.
I have never seen you rude.
I hope not.
What is your relationship with the fans?
I believe it's very good. I love people. I think that's, you know, I enjoy doing the game, but I really enjoy all of the surrounding things that go with it. So when I walk into the ballpark, I say hello to Marie on the elevator and ask her about her family and all that. I walk into the press room and talk to David, the chef, and how is everything here, and Maria and Martina, the ladies who work in the back. And then I go out and all the writers, and I start throwing arrows at each other, laughing and having fun. I go into the booth, and there are the fellows I work with every day, and we just laugh and joke. And all of that is as important to me as actually doing the game. It really is. And the same way with the fans. I've really been fortunate having people be kind to me, and so it's very easy to be kind to them. So again, I've been truly blessed with a good relationship, I think, with almost everyone. I hope, anyway. Yeah.
I've heard you say many times, as long as I continue to get goosebumps when I watch the game, I'm going to stay with it.
Yeah, that's really my barometer, I think. You know, it can be a long year, as you well know, and it's day after day. It's a grind, although not as much of a grind now for me as it used to be. But I still, and it doesn't make any difference who does it, a Dodger, a visiting player, something will happen where, like last year, I mentioned it because there was a game where the second baseman fielded the ground ball and he didn't have a chance to make the usual turn and toss, and he threw it behind his back, and it was remarkable. And I was covered with goosebumps. I just was so thrilled that he could have made that play. And then the other night we were playing, and the third baseman made two remarkable diving, smothering catches on a ball that should have gone down the line. And there they were again. And I thought, you know what? It's still inside of me. I'm not manufacturing them out of my brain. It just automatically happens. So I guess that's still my signpost, that as long as you feel emotionally involved that way, and with the blessings of my wife, I think most people forget, and they shouldn't forget. But anyone involved in baseball, and your wife Lynn knows, when you're involved in baseball, your wife spends an awful lot of time alone. We have 16 grandchildren. We have 5 children, but at 5, 6 in the night, they're busy with their own lives and their own children, and my wife is having dinner by herself in the kitchen. And it's a great sacrifice. So one of the things that kept my decision going and making it easy is where Sandy said, look, you still love it, and I want you to continue to love it as long as you do. The day that you don't think so, then you should pack it in, you know. Or the day, and she's a good critic, sitting home watching the game, and if she said, you know what, you're losing it, I've got to pack it in right away. Yeah. But until then, the goosebumps are what work.
I figured it up. But my 28 years with the Dodgers, I was away from Lynn for 9 years.
Yeah, there you go.
And you go way more than that.
Yeah. It's, in fact, that's something I don't do. I would never do what you did, because that would kind of depress me, and I don't want to do that. What was it Satchel Paige said? Don't look back.
Like they're gaining on you.
And I'm not going to look back. It's onward and hopefully upward.
Then giving back and helping people have been a large part of your life. A lot of that's been anonymous. You've done so much gift-wise. I just want to deal with 2 particular areas I know of with you. Retinitis pigmentosa and the St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. Can you dwell on those?
Well, the retinitis pigmentosa I really inherited by marriage with Sandy. It has plagued all of the men in her family, going back to her father, all of her brothers. What happens is your peripheral vision begins to shut down. You also have a lot of trouble adjusting from bright light indoors or vice versa. You know, when you go in the movie theaters from a bright afternoon, it takes you a little while to even see the chairs. Well, they go through that, and then the eyeball begins to lose all of the peripheral vision until they're looking through straws. And you might say, well, okay, but the straws are not necessarily straight on. They could be that way, this way, and now they're having a lot of trouble, and it's brutal. And so, in a sense, perhaps it was God's plan that I should get involved with a woman whose family has that problem. I must say we have not done nearly as much anymore, but we did a lot more than we do now. And the other is St. John's. We try to contribute to various charities, and please don't make it sound like I'm a big deal doing this. I really don't mean that. But the hospital, the way I figure, services more people in more areas than I can possibly help going with little donations to 500. So that's why basically we've tried to help both areas anyway. Yeah.
2 more questions.
Sure.
This is a show called Real Sports Heroes. To you, what is a real sports hero?
I think the de-emphasis is on the word sports. Just because a man paints a house, he's not going to be a real painter hero. He's either going to be a real hero or not a hero. So the fact that he's a painter doesn't mean anything. To me, it's the same thing. The fact that he's a ball player and very successful, or a football player, or a basketball player, that's very nice. What it does, it gives him a major opportunity to be a real hero. And so I always quantify that by saying, never mind sports, it's the hero. And we all know what a hero is. The real hero to me is the one who truly does something wonderful, but doesn't believe he's a hero, just believes that he was handed the opportunity by a greater mind than his to do whatever he did. Most of the wartime heroes, the fellows who put their lives on the line, they say that they weren't thinking about being a hero. Most of them, certainly on the ground, the Marines, the Army, they always thought of the guy next to them. My buddy, I want to make sure that nothing happens to him, and if he gets hurt, then I want to protect him. And those are the ones who are the heroes. They've been given this special opportunity. So, yeah, that to me, a real hero, and I just kind of forget about sports.
And a two-part question for you. What has baseball meant to you, and what has baseball meant to America?
Well, to me, in looking back over these 60-some-odd years and what I've been able to do for my children and grandchildren and continue to do, baseball has been a huge opportunity for me, number one, to express myself. Somewhere early in life, I had this feeling that I had to express myself. When I was 8 years old, I wrote a composition saying that I wanted to be a sports announcer. Now you have to remember, when I was 8 years old, that's a long time ago. There was no television. The only sports, I believe, would be a Saturday college football game on the radio. That was the only thing. And yet somehow this little boy had this tremendous desire to be there and to do it. That had to be God's will. I mean, that's the only thing I know how to do. So that part, I know that baseball has fulfilled my life. To America, one of the moments that I am so thrilled to have been gifted to be there was not only Jackie Robinson's arrival, because I traveled with him in the early days, not his first couple of years, but it was still pretty early. And I saw what was going on with Jackie. And then the amazing moment, the culmination of black and white to me, was that night in Atlanta when Henry Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record. And I'm happy to say that I did have the thought with all the excitement. And I said, what a great moment it is for Henry and his family and for the Braves and for Atlanta and for baseball. But what a greater moment for America that a black player would be idolized in the Deep South for breaking the record of a white icon. To me, that might have been almost a bigger impact, certainly a tie with Jackie Robinson. So all in all, baseball has been my life, yeah.
And follow that up. As soon as you made the home run call of Aaron's shot, what did you do?
Shut up, which I'm very good at doing. When I was that little 8-year-old boy, I would crawl under the radio and let the crowd roar, and it would just wash all over me. And I've always been that way. I try as hard as I can to call the play as quickly and as accurately, and then shut up. There are no words better than the roar of the crowd, as you know. And that night, when he hit the home run, I'll backtrack. In radio, the longest laugh in radio history, I believe, was on a Jack Benny show. And that's where Benny supposedly, again on the radio, is held up walking the street. And he had built up a reputation of being very cheap. And the robber said, your money or your life? And there was silence. And the thief said, well, and Benny said, I'm making up my mind. And that laugh is supposed to be the longest in the history of radio. Well, when Henry Aaron hit the home run, I put the microphone down, got up, and went to the back of the booth because I had nothing to say. The place went bananas. And I think I poured a little coffee. And I stood there and just reveled in the sounds and the sights. And I've timed it since, and it's about 1 minute and 24 seconds without a word spoken. Now, that's a long time on radio, but I had nothing better to say. And it also then gave me a time to calm down and think and then go back and talk about the importance to America. So silence is the best of all.
One of the favorite sayings that you gave me one time, less is more.
Oh gosh, and don't we all live by that really? I mean, the more we get, in retrospect, we think, less might have been better. I would not have had to spend that much time to get more. I could have still been happier with, I can only sleep in one bed and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and the same with broadcasting. Red Barber, who was a marvelous broadcaster, always said to me, don't be afraid of silence. And I'm not afraid. Sometimes a little leery of it, thinking I ought to say something, but, I try.